did money fuck VERSUZ up? As you may now know, Swiss Beats and Timbaland are now filing I think almost $30 million lawsuit against VERSUZ. As a result, even prior to that, VERSUZ has not been as popping as it once was, obviously. My question to y'all is, has money destroyed VERSUZ and the VERSUZ concept? I'm going to open this up to everybody because I just want to get y'all opinion. Furthermore,
I just got two questions. I just got two answers. Money always does, don't it? Tears friendships apart, tears rap groups apart. You know what I'm saying? So it's always at the basis. It's always got something to do with some money. You know what I'm saying?
Well said, man.
But on the flip side of that, it's two sides to every coin, right? So It was all good when they were putting their own money to do it. It was all good when it was free. It was all good when they were taking the burdens and the brunt of everything and paying everybody out of their pocket. It was all good then. But then when it was like, yeah, we don't want this burden anymore, then it's, y'all messed it up. Y'all sold out. Y'all won't try to pay them to take care of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like, I wish I knew what the terms of the sale were, centered around, creative control. Like, I wish I knew those terms, but I don't. But essentially, like I said, when they were doing it just out of kindness of their heart and all that other stuff, and then they did have to put a certain bill here and there. And we've heard certain artists say, I won't doing this for free. Like, didn't Teddy Riley say that? Where'd that money come from to pay him? Did they pay it? I mean, we know they got it. But at the same time, none of us paid shit. None of us gave them anything, but it was all good then. Well, so it's wild.
And the reports it said stated, because in the beginning of the deal, of part of their deal, is for them to pay everybody, Trilla, to pay every artist that appears, and past artists as well. Some of the past artists. They said in the whole this whole year, partially this year and a little bit of last year, they haven't been getting paid, Swiss and Tim. So this is a accumulation of them not being paid. And I'm not sure of as far as with the other artists, they kind of specify it just them. But they were saying about some of the past artists not getting paid either. The ones before Trilla took the whole VERSUZ thing. So I guess it's some like back payment, and this is why they take suit of back payment, of not being paid, stuff like that.
Yeah, Sweetness, go ahead.
Yeah, and not to say that they shouldn't receive money, because they absolutely should. It's just the part where it just wasn't raw anymore for me. It wasn't, like it seemed more scripted, whereas it wasn't scripted before. And then it even the way that they started promoting it just ended up being real forced, and it just became too commercial. I like the raw, natural, original feeling of it. And for me, that part was just gone, to where I didn't even know when it was coming on again. I like the little memes and bloopers and stuff we was getting out of it. But then, if I had one wish, it would be for it to go back to the way it was. Yeah, I wasn't feeling it.
The funny thing about that, and what you're saying about it going back to the way it was, everybody now is talking about how great it is because of the performance aspect versus people just sitting playing their records. And everybody talks about how, I think the turning point was the Dipset VERSUZ, where it was like, that performance, they were rapping over this, and and my whole side of that was, well, that wasn't a thing before this, but now it's a thing. So now this is where we're going. This is what dictates what wins the VERSUZ, the performance, not the actual song, when it was supposed to be a songs thing from the jump. And now to hear people kind of you know, kind of wanted to go back to the old way after so many people were up and you know, cheering on the new way. It's funny. But again, with all these people doing all these performances and getting people together, like, yes, that's going to cost money. Like, let's go back to doing it on Zoom. Cool. It ain't gonna cost nothing. Like, but it's wild. It's just wild.
Well, I'm gonna say this, man. You need money to expand things, right? The production value that you got, like you said, out of what the Jada Kid, the Locks Dipset battle, you know, what I saw with Big Daddy Kane, KRS, is a clear difference, right? They actually got it right. I don't think that's where my problem is. I feel like my problem is that everybody got paid or was in this connect to get paid, but then everybody seems like they just got lazy. What happened to the concepts? What happened to the actual shows themselves? That's what I feel like the money destroyed, was the hunger to just keep doing it. The conversations we used to have. Yo,
but CL, some of these folks never had hunger to begin with. Some of these folks never had great stage shows and stuff like that to begin with.
Well, no.
Like realistically,
wait. Let me just say this. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, well, maybe they're being presented and not accepting it. So I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that, you know, we would sit up on this call and be like, oh, I'd love to see Mary J versus Mariah. Or we'd want to see so-and-so versus so-and-so. Like, we would have our own energy, right? Now, you know, whether, obviously these things didn't happen, but I feel like, or let me ask you, do you feel like that somebody's saying to Mariah and Mary, yo, we got a check for y'all to do this verses? Or somebody's saying to Diddy and JD, we got a check for y'all, let's do this verses. Do you think that they're still approaching the artists as aggressively? Or do you feel like, you know, they're not?
CL, earlier you talked about getting Beyonce on the call, right?
Yes,
How
I did.
everybody laughed at you.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that's how this versus shit is. People aren't talking to the right people, they're talking to the underlings versus the actual artists themselves.
Yep.
Or they're just saying, nah, they're out of your price range, don't even bother. And you know, I kind of use that in the same vein as, like, you know, you heard the things about Pharrell writing them records for Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And Michael's underlings were like, nah, Mike don't want this bullshit. And then he did the Justin Timberlake records, and then he saw Mike later on, and Mike was like, hey man, those songs should have been for me. You know what I'm saying? So it that might be very well it. Like, oh man, we should do a Beyonce versus Rihanna. Man, Rihanna ain't gonna do it. She just had a baby, and Beyonce ain't gonna do it because she's Beyonce. But literally, if you get with either one of them, it might be like, fuck it, I'll do that shit. Let's go.